such a little guy. He's so small, Sachin.
Compared to your height.
Compared to New Zealanders tend to be quite big, but quite a little guy and softly spoken.
Yeah.
But commands so much respect, and
Absolutely.
every word is listened to. It's normally the biggest person, the loudest person, that commands a room, but Sachin's the opposite to all of that, yet commands the room just like that. I think people must understand it's also, I would think, in Dhoni's position, it's not just the performing on the field. Yes, that's what everyone looks at, and I'm sure MS Dhoni looks at that as well, but it's his contributions off the field.
Yeah.
And that's the people and the stuff don't see, and then that's the gold. That's the important stuff. You got Dhoni at a training session or in a changing room or back at the hotel having a coffee with some of the younger lads, talking about his experiences, his challenges, what went well, what didn't went well, and the guidance he is giving those younger people.
Yeah,
that's the magic. That's the good stuff. Yet the public are probably looking at Dhoni's performances on the field and judging him on that. And then you've got your senior Indian players. Now they're superstars. They're on every second ad on television. They're on billboards everywhere you go.
Very popular.
And lovely guys. And I have respect for those guys because they feel playing for the Indian cricket team would be a very pressurised environment. Our style for that time was to be quite aggressive. Now you got some players who are prepared to be aggressive because they feel safe in team selection. They feel safe in there where their career's at. But then you've also got some local boys. They just want to get a score.
Yeah.
We want them to play a certain way. Whereas if you get out, that's okay. We don't care, but we need you to hit certain points in your batting innings or your bowling strategy. We need you to bowl like this or bat like this for the team game plan for us to win. But then they've got sort of that individual mindset. I just want to get a contract next year. I think my Achilles heel in life is naan bread, butter naan. I just
love it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I just love that stuff. Our fitness trainer on the tours to India was pretty strict. He was okay for us to have obviously the rice and whatever curry we decided, but you couldn't have rice and naan bread. He said you have to have one.
No, you can only have one.
Yeah, only one. So you either go for the curry and the naan, or the curry and the rice.
Yeah.
But I didn't listen to him. I had both. I just had to.
Today we are joined by one of New Zealand's finest fast bowlers, Kyle Mills. Let's welcome Kyle to our show. Welcome to our show, Kyle.
Thank you for the invite and having me.
I would like to ask, how was your experience when you were bowling against Sachin Tendulkar?
Straight to the top, Sachin? Look, by the time I started playing international cricket, Sachin had been around for some time. So he was also a player that I looked up to and was inspired by, I guess, because he played out here as a young fella in the 1992 Cricket World Cup when it was played here in Australia and New Zealand. And so I would have been about 13 at that time, and Sachin was this new kid on the block, and obviously he hit the international stage with a storm, really. One, for being a very good batter, and two, for being so young. It's almost unheard of. And so by the time I started playing international cricket, he was certainly well established as a phenomenal player with a record which was daunting to look at. And then as a young bowler, when I finally got the opportunity to play against Sachin was awesome. Because as any sports person, I think you want to play against the very, very best.
Yeah.
And playing against Sachin was, the heart rate increases a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially over in India.
Yeah.
I've never been to a place before with so much noise. But when Sachin walks to the crease, it amplifies even more. But I happened to get him out one time in, I think it was Pune and LBW, and it's the first time I had got Sachin out.
Silence, and you hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And he walked off, and obviously we were ecstatic that we didn't have to bowl to Sachin again. But yeah, he just commands respect all over the show, and I was very fortunate enough to play with him as well with the Mumbai Indians. In the second year of the IPL, he was the captain, and I was in the squad, and then got to meet Sachin more on a personal level, which was even better, and to sit down and hear his stories and about his childhood and how the challenges that he had and how he went about playing cricket was awesome.
Oh, great. Still you keeping connection with Sachin, or?
Oh, look, every time I bump into Sachin, which is pretty hard to these days when I live in the city here in Auckland, and he's obviously over in Mumbai, but when we do cross paths, we always have a good catch-up. I saw him, last time I saw Sachin would have been about 2 years ago in India.
Oh, nice.
We played in like a Masters cricket league against each other, and always good to connect with him again, and such a little guy. He's so small, Sachin.
Compared to your height.
Compared to New Zealanders tend to be quite big, but quite a little guy, and softly spoken.
Yeah.
But commands so much respect, and
Absolutely.
every word is listened to. It's normally the biggest person, the loudest person, that commands a room, but Sachin's the opposite to all of that, yet commands the room just like that. He's lovely company to be around.
And Kyle, you started your cricket career 1998 onwards, and you've played 3 World Cups, 2003, 2011 and 2015. Do you have some experience to share with our listeners?
Well, actually the World Cup, the 50 over World Cup you're talking about, personally was a real curse for me. So if you take a deep dive into it, I went to the 2003 Cricket World Cup in South Africa as a young kid. I don't know, 22, 23, I guess. I played one game. So I was the junior guy on the team. Lots of other players were ahead of me. So I carried the drinks. Played one game against Bangladesh, got a couple of wickets, and that was my lot. My expectation, obviously, going over there was to play, but I realised I was a younger player to force my way in. We should have made the semi-final, but there were some political tensions. We didn't go to Kenya, so we lost games, lost points, and Kenya actually ended up making the semi-final of that event in South Africa. Then I was post that I really got into my groove and became one of the leaders in the group for the New Zealand side. And then the next World Cup was 2007. I had to pull out. I had knee surgery. I was carrying this knee injury for some time leading into it, and it just got to a point where enough was enough. I saw myself on the big screen limping. I was like, oh, God, you can't fake this anymore. So I didn't go to the 2007 World Cup. And then the next one was 2011 in India.
Yeah.
Went over there, week in, I put my back out. And so then I missed games at the start. And then I played games in the middle, got into my groove, doing well, and then I tore my groin muscle. And I tore my groin in a pool game, then missed a couple of games, tried to get back for the semi-final against South Africa, but I couldn't. Quarter-final against South Africa, and so I came home just before the semi-final, and then in between those times, those World Cups, I was playing really well, and then got back from that injury, started to play really well again, and got to the 2015 World Cup here in New Zealand. And by this stage, I was the older person in the team. These young guys were coming through: Trent Boult, Matt Henry, and Tim Southey, and Adam Milne. And I ended up carrying the drinks the whole World Cup. So the World Cup was actually a really curse for me. But in between those World Cups was the Champions Trophy, which we've just had recently, which is a big event, and I was really successful in all those Champions Trophies. So for some reason, every time a World Cup came around, the body kind of packed it in.
Okay. So listening to you, Kyle, I feels like you had a very fair share of injuries during your career. I believe you were quite resilient on that side.
There were certainly many downtimes, for sure. I think I had about 6 surgeries on my body. And then I also had added all the muscle tears and strains, all that sort of stuff, which is like a rehab process. But my biggest injury was always my back. I had a disc herniation in my back, so I could be quite fine, but then I'd go pick up a bottle of water or do my shoelace, and my back would disc would go out onto my sciatic nerve, and I'll be out for a week. Just couldn't go back or forward, and just back's in spasm. But it'll settle down after 7 to 10 days. I'll be back into it, but it could go just like that with no reason. rhyme or reason, and that would happen to me about 3 or 4 times a year. And so that was the Wayne injury that always just niggled at me because it was just constantly there. But with the surgeries, yeah, there's a lot of factors there. One, you lose your place in the team and give someone else an opportunity.
Yeah, because you're taking a break in between.
Taking a break, and that provides opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what sport is, really. Everyone gets their opportunity at some stage. It's whether you take it or not. And so that was always hard. And then you don't know if you're ever going to come back.
Yeah.
To like you were. And so it takes a lot of resilience to push through the rehab, to get your body strong and fit again, and try and get into a place where it once was, which is never the case.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of, if I look back on my career, I'm proud of lots of things, disappointed with some things, but proud of lots of things. But one of the biggest things I'm proud of is actually coming back from so many injuries, because it shows a lot of character to do so and get myself back into the team. And there's one thing getting back into the team, but there's getting back into the team and contributing and performing.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that on, not one-offs, but many a time is possibly, I think, probably the thing I'm most proud of.
Talking about your retirement, I can see you have retired at the peak of your career, I would say. Why I'm asking is, if you heard about the rumors about Dhoni in India, he's in his mid-40s, still kind of reluctant to, go out of the field. Do you have any comments for Dhoni?
Look, retiring's hard because it's when it comes to cricket, and I'm sure not just Dhoni, but every cricketer across the world's like this. We're all young kids, all playing backyard cricket, watching lots of cricket, loving the game, being around our mates, and for something about cricket, people just really gravitate towards it, and you want to represent your country, and that's all you've known. So you go through school, and then you leave school, and all your mates, off into university degrees or going into the workforce, and you're deciding to take this cricket path because you want to live your dream of playing for your country. And once you get to do that, and not just a one-off, but you build a career around it, it's hard to let go. One thing is that the sport, being in a team environment, which is I love, and it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle you get used to as well, and then it's kind of a hard thing to let go. So I can only speak for myself personally, and I had young kids at the time when I retired around 35, and I wasn't as good as I was, and I was getting frustrated about that, and this new wave of talent was coming through. So my time was up. I had to.
That was your call. You felt like my time is up.
My time was up. Like, I didn't like carrying the drinks at that World Cup in 2015. I'm a player, and I had no reason not to play. I was still performing, but these young guys came along, and they were good. So it's time to cash my chips in and move into another direction, which is it's a hard thing to do. All my close friends from my school days, they went to university, went and got corporate jobs, started off at the bottom of the ladder and worked their way up the corporate ladder. When I was at cricket, about to leave my cricketing career, and mid-30s, I'm like, I don't want to start at the bottom in the corporate world. Like,
absolutely,
all your friends are sort of got big
to
positions,
that mid or senior level,
correct, and they've kind of built these amazing careers for themselves, and I was like, well, I'm not starting at the bottom for 15 years, and so it's a really challenging time. It really is, but I still had mortgage and kids to take care of. Whereas it's a little bit different for Dhoni. I'm pretty confident he doesn't have a mortgage. So over in India is a lot different, where you play for that national side and you become a superstar in that cricketing field. You're kind of taken care of for life in that part of the world. That's not the case here in New Zealand. Not at all. So why Dhoni's still playing? Look, I'm not sure. Look, he's not playing a lot. He's just doing the IPL once a year, and that's maybe great for him. It's a 2-month competition. He's probably got 2 months of preparing for it, and the rest of the time, if he keeps his body in good condition, fit, I think he's, he looks after himself clearly. He's still performing. Yeah. And you ask yourself at the end of the day, if you're still performing, and I think people must understand it's also, I would think, in Dhoni's position, it's not just the performing on the field. Yes, that's what everyone looks at, and I'm sure MS Dhoni looks at that as well, but it's his contributions off the field.
Yeah.
And that's the people and the stuff don't see, and then that's the gold. That's the important stuff. You got Dhoni at a training session or in a changing room or back at the hotel having a coffee with some of the younger lads, talking about, you know, his experiences, his challenges, what went well, what didn't went well, and the guidance he is giving those younger people.
Yeah.
That's the magic. That's the good stuff. Yet the public are probably looking at Dhoni's performances on the field and judging him on that. Yes, of course, we're all accountable. You have to be judged on our performances, because at the end of the day, that's what comes to winning or losing. But there's a lot of good stuff going on in the background,
Absolutely.
which is really important.
We can also see you have associated with India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, all those teams. When you were coaching for Kolkata Knight Riders, how was your experience being in coaching Dognut compared to your experience on the field?
Look, I loved coaching in the IPL. I really did. It's you feel alive. There's a lot of pressure. So you look at it from a normal cricketing team's perspective. The New Zealand cricket team, it's 12 months a year. You work towards something. You can blood players in for certain series. For instance, we've had Pakistan here recently. You can see there are young players who are introduced into that environment to get a feel for it. The coaches and selectors are seeing if they can, you know, handle that environment, handle the pressure of an international match.
Yeah.
Whereas the IPL, it's 8 weeks of cricket.
Yeah.
And you're judged on those 8 weeks, and either success or failure. There's only two things.
Yeah.
And over there, you're only judged by success by winning it. Add in the fact you've got some powerful owners of those teams, like big time owners of Bollywood actors, businessmen.
High level of competition. Yeah.
Yeah. But the businessmen over there who own these teams, they're successful people. They only deal in success. And so when it comes to business, they find a way to be successful, you know.
At any cost, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Now you translate that to cricket, sport. Call it, not even cricket, call it sport. In sport, we touched on it before, you don't know what's going to happen. It's theatre. You can lose.
Yeah.
Someone can drop a catch. Someone can get out. Now, cricketers, we understand that. The owners of the team, well, they don't lose. So I think it's a challenge for some of the owners over there to understand. I think they're getting around it now, because some of those owners have been around since the inception of the IPL. But I've been in some environments in the IPL where losing was a really uncomfortable environment to be around, and you sensed people weren't happy with the loss.
Yeah.
But that's sport. So then going into that environment from a coaching perspective, I felt that a little bit, like the importance of winning, and I did like it. I liked the very short space of time of it's about 7 weeks of playing, a bit of preparation time, but you're there. You are trying to build a team as fast as you possibly can. Now that's easy for me to do here in New Zealand. I know the New Zealand culture. I know what ticks the boxes for people here. I know how we function. I know how we go about our training. In the IPL, you've got West Indian boys, you've got Australian boys, you've got English boys, New Zealand, South African. They're all different cultures.
Yeah.
They all do things differently. No one's right or wrong. It's just different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And then you've got your senior Indian players. Now, they're superstars. They're on every second ad on television. They're on billboards everywhere you go.
Very popular.
And lovely guys. And I have respect for those guys, because they feel playing for the Indian cricket team would be a very pressurised environment. So you got those guys in the group. Then you've got your young Indian boys, who are the young kids who finally get an opportunity to be in the IPL, and they just want to train the house down. They want to prove a point. They want to make their families proud, their villages. They want to give back to their family environment and their villages. And so they're just desperate. okay, so you've got this melting pot of different attitudes, different wants and needs, and then you've got a coaching staff who we're over there with Brendan McCullum, who's one of the best coaches in the world, who want to play a style of cricket. So our style for that time was to be quite aggressive. Now you got some players who are prepared to be aggressive because they feel safe in team selection. They feel safe in there where their career's at. But then you've also got some local boys, they just want to get a score.
Yeah.
We want them to play a certain way. Whereas if you get out, that's okay. We don't care, but we need you to hit certain points in your batting innings or your bowling strategy. We need you to bowl like this or bat like this for the team game plan for us to win. But then they've got sort of that individual mindset, I just want to get a contract next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a difference. And so it was really challenging to get everyone to buy into the team game plan because we believed in our game plan and it worked. We made the final and just missed out in the final. But to get everyone to buy into that is hard. But that's the challenging part I enjoyed most, to be honest, because it was different from my cricketing culture here in New Zealand, how we go about it, to which I've touched on before. New Zealand's a very team-orientated environment.
Yeah.
You go out of your way every day at training to do something for one of your teammates. It's the culture.
Yeah.
To suddenly be in that environment where people are looking out for themselves because they just want to get a contract for next year, and this is their one opportunity, and they want to, so you've got all these different dynamics at play, which is fascinating. And you also got people at different stages in their career. You've got older people who've been there, done that, they know the deal. Guys who are trying to... So it's this melting... And then you add in the pressure to win.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money out for grabs for the investors in these who own these teams. Yeah, like big money. Sponsors want performance as well.
Return on investment.
Yeah, and there's sponsorship bonuses if you make the playoffs or the final. So you got those team owners and CEOs and the management really want us to progress so they can get the extra bonuses from the sponsors and stuff. So there's all these things going on.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
When we were winning, it's great. When we had a couple of losses, like, I feel this.
Yeah.
We need to turn this around pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's not like an international season. You've got 12 months where you can sort of ride those. This one, you need to find results straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah. Sounds like you've got a great insights about the Indian team players and the Black Caps players. Like to ask, have you picked up any favorite dishes other than the butter chicken served in your room?
Look, I'm very friendly with Irfan Patan.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, we gravitated to each other early on in our careers, and we played together at Kings 11 Punjab. And then a few years after that, we had a tour of India, and we were in Baroda.
Baroda.
And he's from Baroda. And he said, I can't remember the name of the hotel. We were at the hotel, and he said, Mum's cooked you a special meal. I said, wow, so nice. And then next minute, at the hotel came all these dishes from his mum's home. Oh. She cooked it, and I was like, oh my God, there's so much food here. And I couldn't even name the dishes, but I got a few of our teammates along, and we got stuck into it. It was beautiful food. And then it was funny, I called Irfan that night. I said, what do you want me to do with all the
food?
all these bowls and stuff. It was like, there's bowls everywhere. He goes, I'll just bring them to the airport. I was like, because we were flying the next day to another city. I was like, well, bring them to the airport.
We should have carried it along.
So I went to the airport the next day with all these big, dishes and bowls and all sorts. I said, here you go. But he'd organised, I think, one of his family members to come and stuff. But no, I love Indian food. I really do. So I'm okay. One of my favourite restaurants is just up the road here, the Heritage in Kingsland. Big plug to the Heritage in Kingsland. I love that food, the food there.
Any specific...
The Lucknow chicken, Lucknow Malai.
Chicken.
Yeah, oh God, I love it. And I think my Achilles heel in life is naan bread, butter naan. I just...
love it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I just love that stuff. Our fitness trainer on the tours to India was pretty strict. He was okay for us to have, obviously, the rice and whatever curry we decided, but you couldn't have rice and naan bread. He said you have to have one.
No, you can only have one. Yeah.
Yeah, only one. So you either go for the curry and the naan
Yeah.
or the curry and the rice.
Yeah.
But I didn't listen to him. I had both. I just had to.
At least you got the equation right, which is great.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing all your memories and being honest and with all the laughs.
Yep.
And we wish you all success for whatever is next to you. Wish you good luck. Thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.